Welcome to Inside the Studio with Greg Wurth. This episode, I'm going to talk about my favorite UAD plugins. I recognize that my favorite top 10 plugins that I put out last year was very popular, and I'm going to continue that and go one by one and tell you about my favorite plugins per company. I'm going to start with UAD here, and in separate videos, I'll focus on different companies. All right, so number one, just down the list here, is this AKG BX20. It's modeled after the classic spring reverb unit. For me, I love it for reggae stuff. I did a video last week where I talked about mixing reggae, and this is an integral part of reggae mixing is spring reverb. That's what King Tubby used back in the day, so it just has this classic sound to it. It's not necessarily the best reverb for everything, but it definitely has just this woolly, nice sound to it. And especially with transients, it just gives that classic tone. Okay, so moving on. Here's the Ampeg Svt. If you know about these, they're very, very loud, and you have to crank them to get the sound that you want out of them. And that creates a lot of problems, especially in home studios. It's just all this low-end rumble comes blasting through, leaking into the control room, so you can't really hear what you're doing. So this was really cool that this came out. It gets basically the same sound as close as you can get without having the real thing. So definitely check this out. It's recommended. Great for bass. Plug a DI in there. It's killer. Fat tone. This is the Ampeg ATR 102. This is modeled after the 2-track tape machine. Originally it came, you can get 1/4-inch or 1/2-inch head stacks. At the studio, we have both. Steve bought his back in the 80s from Frank Zappa. That's what he used to print all his mixes from, I believe, Passion and Warfare till now. We used this heavily on the Story of Light record, printing the tape. It's a really cool sounding machine, and it was really cool to see UAD model this because sometimes you just want to get that tape coloration without the hassle of having to pull up a reel, align a machine, do this and that. It's very cool. Here's the classic AMS RMX 16, which it's a very famous digital reverb. And it's probably most famously known, at least from my point of view, for the non-lin reverb that it does. It was big in the 80s, like all the Def Leppard stuff, Phil Collins. Just really heavy, gated kind of reverb sound. It also has some other really cool reverbs that are great for vocals and various other things, but it's a great unit. It's really hard to come by. If you want to get one, it's probably $3,000 and up if it works, and then you got to pay David Kolka a fortune to repair it, and even then it might break in a couple weeks. They're very finicky units, but great sound. Next up is probably my favorite EQ of all time, is the API 550A. I'm a big API guy. Spent a lot of time. Steve Vai had an old 1978 API console he got that was originally owned by Michael McDonald. He did Passion and Warfare and basically all his records up until we didn't do Story of Light on that record. But it's just super punchy. If you know API, it's just known for being punchy. The desk was full of these EQs, and they're just great musical EQs. They have a proportional Q, so the more that you boost them, basically it's got a cut and boost and a frequency select. So the more that you boost this, the tighter the bandwidth gets. So it's just very musical, and just I love them for drums, guitars. I use these for guitars all the time. So very glad that API did that. Next up is the 560. Similar tone quality. It's based around the same op amp and transformers, but it's got the graphic EQ sliders, and this is great for bass guitar. You can really shape some cool sounds, guitar, drums, just anything. This is a really cool plugin. Definitely suggest that one. Moving down. Again, there's a ton of stuff. I'm not going to go over everything because I can't. Here's this guy. I love the Fatso. I have the analog version, and it's great. And They actually offer 2 versions, which is a model of the Fatso Junior as it was originally, and then they extended to some more features. You get some threshold and attack release and filter settings in here. Typically, I'm not using this version. I use just the one above it that has only the original settings, because that's just what I'm used to. I love this for drums, like a drum bus or a drum room. Just really, really cool sound. Next up is the EMT 140 plate. This thing has a classic sound. If you ever, looking for a plate reverb, this is kind of one of the holy grail models that you would want. And the plugin is just great. It's just rich sounding plate verb, really warm. I love it. And also from EMT, which I like to use, is the 250. It's known as R2D2. The real unit is about 2.5, 3 feet tall or whatever. And it looks like it was from Star Wars. It's kind of a funny unit. And the best of my knowledge, this was basically the first digital reverb unit available, or one of the first digital effect units around in the 70s, I believe. So this is definitely a really cool unit to get. Obviously, if you wanted to buy a new one, it'd cost a fortune to ship it and probably pay upwards of 10 grand plus. So that's a lot of money for just a reverb. So you might as well just get this. The EP34. This is a very classic tape delay. I love this thing. I use it for guitars, like leads. Just get that classic warmth. It's just one of those things where you can't, I don't know, if you're looking for a tape delay, just the way that it degrades the sound as the repeats happen, it's just really cool. And this, it can do self-oscillation really well. So if you just crank up the repeats, even like that, just the self-noise, I can get it to self-oscillate. But it's just really cool for effects. I use it for a lot of reggae stuff as well. Next up, this is probably a favorite of everybody's. I don't know anybody who really doesn't like a Fairchild compressor. They're just very cool. They're rich, creamy sounding. The Beatles used them a lot. They're just this is basically the holy grail compressor. It's full of tubes. It's just got this amazing sound. It looks cool. It's just super solid. And UAD just did a good job at modeling this. Just, gave it a wet dry feature, extend the usability a little bit. Here's one that I kind of confused by. Maybe you guys know more about it than me, but at some point these were renamed. This is originally the Roland Space Echo. And one day I just opened everything up and they wanted to change it. They took Roland's name away, so I'm sure that had something to do with them in the company. But this is called the Galaxy Tape Echo, but it's really the Space Echo. And it's got spring reverb and tape echo within it. So it's really, really cool. So I use this a lot for guitars, and this is great for dub, reggae dub. What else do we have here? This one is probably a favorite of everyone's as well. I don't know anybody that doesn't love a Neve 1073. For vocals, this is just like the holy grail. Put a U47 into a Neve, into like some sort of tube compressor limiter. You got the best vocal sound you've ever heard. This thing is just super musical. It's got all the same features that it has, in the real unit, the filter, all the bypass, and you can adjust the input gain here and get a little crunch out of it. Super sweet sounding. Classic Neve. Next up, this is my favorite room reverb of all time. Even out of hardware, this thing impressed the crap out of me when it came out. I wish that there was more stuff. I wish that they would collaborate on more stuff with UAD. Basically, Alan Sides, they spent copious amounts of time modeling the rooms in the studio with different mic placements. They give you a visual representation of where the instrument is based on what the sound you're getting. And, solo vocal, that's how they would place in the room and stuff like that. Really cool. You can do that. Over here to the right, you have near, mid, and far mics. And with these, it starts out and just gives you the mid, and you can adjust the distance. You can even change the mic. I guess for this one, you can't change the mic for that particular preset. But like say for here, you can get a U67 or U47 if you didn't want whatever preset was there, and then you unmute it, and then it shows up here, and it shows you sort of the pattern and the placement of the mics, and you can adjust the distance here. And same with this, you can change the distant mics, and you can make them super far, close, whatever. And if you press on them, it doesn't align. So it combines the three, so you get the best phase relationship within them, which is very cool. You can even do some filtering here, flip the phase, panning, volume, and then you get an overall master EQ for the whole thing. Aside from that, which is an amazing feature set, it has 2 modes. So if you want to use it on an aux return like a standard reverb, you want to slap it into reverb mode, and it'll just work like a normal verb. Or say if you went and you had a session somewhere and you just were not happy with how the room mic sounded on the guitars or the drums or just wherever you did a room mic, you slap this on the insert of it, and you can tweak away, and basically it'll transform your room mics and make them sound like they were recorded in Ocean Way or just whatever combination sounds good to you. So to me, this is the best room reverb plugin available. I suggest it to anybody. Next up is the Studio D, aka Roland Dimension D. This is another one that fell under the wayside with Roland. I guess that their agreement was up or whatnot, and UAD had to rebrand this and change it a little bit. But this is a really cool sounding chorus. I use it on an aux return. I send electric guitars to it, vocals, just adds a little bit of sparkle, some width, depth. Just, it can really enhance the sound. Definitely don't want to overdo it, but it's a very valuable tool there. So I think the last thing that I want to talk about, because a lot of this stuff you guys already know about, and I just want to show my favorites, is the Vertigo VSC2 VCA compressor, which is also available from Plugin Alliance. This is my favorite VCA bus compressor for the stereo bus or drum bus. It's just, when you're looking for that clean VCA compression sound, this is the holy grail. It's just, it's got nice coloration to it if you want, but it's also very transparent in the way that it compresses. It just kind of just gives you this punchy, gluey sound based on what you're doing. So definitely suggest checking this one out. And so that's it for this UAD segment of my favorite plugins. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned. I'm going to just go down the list and show you some more stuff in future videos. So please subscribe to the newsletter on my website, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and thanks for watching. I'll check you out next time.